For the last few weeks, Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse has been going on out in Sparks at USA Lacrosse headquarters, and it's the final week. Our next guest she's got to make up some points here this week to get back towards the top of the leaderboard. But it's a pleasure to welcome in one of the greatest players in college lacrosse history, the all-time leading goal scorer, two-time Tewaaraton Award winner, national champion. Other than that, I can't think of anything else for Izzy Scane, who's with us now here on GCR. Izzy, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, Izzy. All right, so how do you get back, I think 500 points? How do you crawl back into that this weekend, dig out of this, and come out on top?
Yeah, so my brother's wedding was this weekend, so I knew I'd have a little ground to pick up on when I got back. But I think this league is so awesome in that way. I mean, you've seen players go in, not that I'm on the level of Sam Puzo, but went in and scored, I don't know how many points it was, the most points in one game in A pro history. So stuff like that happens. I mean, if you get on the right team and you guys are able to win and get the ball in the back of the cage or do some stuff for your team, pretty easy for the points to kind of add back up. But I think main thing is just hoping that your team can come out with wins and kind of just put them in the best position to be successful. And I mean, like you said, it's the last weekend, so I hope to just enjoy it and just enjoy that high level of lacrosse, and we'll see where the points end up after that.
So the experience for you, right? Like everybody knows how good of a player you are. That's obvious. To get to this level, to know this is your future, this is who you're competing against, not, just with Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse, but, for spots on the national team and other goals like that. How fulfilling has it been spending this summer, and how good do you feel about your place competing against the other best players in the world?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think the level of lacrosse that's just being played at all points in time is a really cool thing to be a part of. And I think being able to play against just the best of the best consistently. I mean, college is a little different because you stay with the same team your entire time and you just become best friends and so used to playing with certain people. So to be thrown in an environment where every week you're playing with a different girl that was the best player at their college as well, and some of which you played against in college and others that you either watched or just know who they are. And it's a really cool thing to be a part of and a really cool way to kind of test out your skill level, test out how you're able to work with different players and different styles and on offense, with people, and then also playing against different defenses and goalies. And it's cool. I think I feel great. I think it's been easy for the rookies to kind of slide right in because everyone's been so welcoming and just wants the best for everyone. And it's been a really fun version of lacrosse to be a part of. So yeah, I feel great about it. And it's exciting to know that the people I'm surrounded by now will kind of continue to be around me in the future, whether it be with the pro league or with national teams and stuff like that. So it's a cool thing.
She's Izzy Scane, of course, former Northwestern superstar. She's now with Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse. Still one more weekend tonight, this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Chance for you to get out to USA Lacrosse in Sparks and check it out. All right, so Izzy, let me go backwards with you for a second. When was the first time in your life that it hit you oh, I'm really good at this. I'm better. I'm not just having fun. I'm better than everybody else.
I don't know if I ever really came to that realization necessarily. I think I grew up in Michigan and lacrosse it's getting there, and in the Midwest it's continuing to grow. But at least when I was younger, lacrosse was just not a big thing in Michigan. So I think for that reason, I never was oh wow, I'm good because I could beat people in Michigan just because of I knew East Coast is really where lacrosse thrives. And I think as I got a little bit older and as I got closer to college, just playing around girls who've been playing since they were 2 years old on the East Coast and Long Island in Maryland, and kind of being able to hold my own was a cool thing, because that's always a worry. Is it going to translate over? And
sure,
did well in high school, obviously, but that's Michigan high school. So you always have that thought in the back of your head.
Well, the Michigan lacrosse community is not going to love this.
No, it's great now. And it's so cool to see how much it's grown. It actually, within my lacrosse time, it has grown so drastically. Yeah. And it's such a cool thing to see. And I'm happy to be any part of that. But at the time I was just we'll see if that completely translates to getting to college and just playing against girls who literally picked up the stick when they were born, which is just not the case where I'm from. And for that to kind of happen my freshman year, getting into Northwestern and having success as a freshman on the defensive end and then moving up to attack was kind of a good moment of okay, you're here, you're in that group of girls that are good and can play this high level of lacrosse. But Yeah, it took a bit. I think you always worry just because not coming from a super traditional area. Yeah.
We like to think that all of the best players are in our backyard here, but yeah, like players like you kind of remind us that yeah, the game has grown. Like that's the way that
Yeah.
it's worked. Speaking of growing the game, I know so much has been made, and I did the World Championships for ESPN a couple summers ago. About that, that still has to be as much as you're trying to compete against there is still a level of, but we're also competing together to try to get more and more people to get to the game. How much of that, given all of the success that you found, your nature as a superstar, how much of that have you kind of put on yourself? Like, hey, I've got to be a part of that. I've got to help continue to grow the game. You know, you reference like you're from a part of the world where maybe it's not the biggest sport. How much of that have you felt these last couple of years?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a cool position to be in. I mean, it's very humbling to be like a type of person that could try to impact the game in that way. And I think I take a lot of pride coming from Michigan, coming from the Midwest, and am just always constantly trying to get back in those areas and coach and grow the game and make it well known that I'm from Michigan, just so that kids in those areas can see what players can do given just like the right amount of effort and getting exposed to the right things. So I think I definitely take a lot of pride in trying to continue to grow to areas in the country that are not necessarily the biggest lacrosse spots. I mean, being at Northwestern, Kelly Amonte recruits kids from everywhere. We have kids from all over the country, which is a really cool thing. And I think stuff like that is just great to see. Like, you just need to see people in positions of like social media and higher positions that are from those areas. Like, representation is such a huge thing. If I
Sure.
hadn't seen girls in the Midwest at Northwestern doing what they were doing, I wouldn't have known like that's a possibility for me. And then even just continuing internationally, I think with lacrosse getting into the Olympics, it's a really huge focal point for the US right now to just try to continue to push to grow the game as much as possible, not just within the country, but also internationally. And I think stuff like this is a cool way to kind of just continue to give representation and show, doesn't matter necessarily where you're from or the lacrosse you're exposed to, but just the amount of effort and love you have for the game can kind of continue to just grow it in that way, which is, it's a cool thing to see. And I think we've seen it over the last couple of years, just steamrolling through. But I think there's obviously a lot more work to do.
AUProsports.com is the website. Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse continues. Final weekend this weekend out in Sparks. Izzy Scane is with us on GCR. Izzy, you brought up the Olympics, so let me go there next, right? Like, how much sixes have you been playing? How much is that on your radar? Is it like is it difficult to focus on multiple different things at once? Is it a priority for you right now? Like, I want to be on that first Olympic team. I need to make that happen for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a goal. It's just such a cool opportunity. I was talking about how we didn't even know the pro league was going to be an option. Like, there was no pro women's lacrosse up until really recently. So there are all these dreams that you never thought were going to be options. And now lacrosse is in the Olympics. Like, that was never part of the like end goal, was go to the Olympics, because lacrosse obviously hadn't been into it until really recently. So it's definitely a very exciting idea. I think I want the US to put the best team possible forward. And obviously I'm going to be a couple years out of college at that point. And if I'm not the best of the best at that point, that's one thing. But I hope I can stay in the game long enough and just continue to grow as a player as much as possible and be able to be a part of something like that. I think that would be a really, really cool opportunity. Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think sixes is it's definitely a different game, but at the same time, it's lacrosse is lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
Being an attacker in college, I obviously wasn't getting my D reps in and having to jump in. We did a training session this summer with the sixes squad, and we had a lot of attackers that had to jump in on defense for the first time since high school.
Hmm.
And it's cool to see, but it's still lacrosse and it's still such a fun way to play. And it's so high speed. And yeah, I love it. It's been really fun. It's not necessarily challenging balancing two different forms of the game, more just exciting to kind of have to adjust accordingly as you're playing with different groups.
Has it added any sort of like subplot to the pro season? Like, has it added any more like additional level of competition? Like, yo, we are all trying to be on this. Like, this is a pioneer type of thing that we're talking about, right? Has it added a little bit more to that? Like a little bit more juice of we need to prove ourselves because this thing is going to start coming into fruition in the next couple of years.
I think definitely. I think anyone that makes it to like this level of a sport is pretty competitive, and
Sure,
you can be sure that's going to
fair.
be in the back of their head in terms of wanting to be the best of the best and wanting to be considered for a team like that. And it definitely is on a lot of people's mind. I think in a good way. I think it's just pushing people to try to play the best version of lacrosse that they can. kind of gives something to like look forward to and continue to not just be satisfied with the level of lacrosse you're playing now, but just continue to grow as players and as people. And yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's like anything that's verbalized or competitive, but I think everyone is just super, super excited for that to be even an opportunity to in the future hopefully get invited to try to be a part of something like that. And a league like this just allows you to kind of continue to grow as a player. Like you'd think you'd be the player you are once college is over, but stuff like this allows you to just build more and more. I think I'm sure everyone's taking that opportunity to just try to be the best version of themselves as a player as they can be, which is it's been cool to see.
All right. Before we let you go, Izzy, the player that you had never maybe gone up against before, that it's been like the most fun matchup that you've had during the course of Athletes Unlimited has been who?
Ooh. I'd say I played against Sam Puzo, but it was like my freshman year of college. So
Sure.
I wasn't quite the player I am now. And she's just such an incredible, like all around player. I think it was really cool to play with her. I was on her team for a week, and just playing with someone that's that level of a lacrosse player is such a fun thing to like just enjoy
Yeah,
being
she's
on her team.
okay.
Playing against it's
Yeah.
not as fun
Yeah.
because like the game is never ever over when someone like that's on the other team. And she's definitely just such a fierce competitor and just so incredible at the sport, not just one dimensionally, but like dodger, feeder, draw taker, everything. And she just completely changes the game. So being able to kind of play with and against her since being here has been a really cool experience. She's awesome.
It's awesome. All right, Izzy, where can everybody be following you, social media?
I have an Instagram, it's IR Scane18, and then my website's kind of linked in the Instagram, and just follow along with the AU Pro Lacrosse Instagram as well. You'll be able to see me there.
And of course, auprosports.com. But tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, final weekend to get out to USA Lacrosse in Sparks and check out Athletes Unlimited. Izzy, it really is a joy to watch you play the game. You're an incredible player. Looking forward, hopefully, it'll be many summers of you hanging out here in our area. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. Best of luck this weekend, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.